know me when it comes to you. You could talk for days and I would still be listening. So, like, tell us what life is like for you now.
The word that you used is how I would describe Mervyn to me. He was my person. Life was difficult after he got sick because I used to get really frustrated about him not complying with certain things about his health. He was naughty. He was naughty.
Yes.
But I think that's the word that I would use with Mervyn. That he was my person since I was 19 years old.
Yep.
And I would right now give anything to have him back here, driving me completely crazy. Just that he's here. So I would describe the first few months. Physically, I couldn't think. I had immense fog, mental fog. So I struggled to make sense of my own work. And that was hard. I went from somebody who knew my work, without even thinking too much about it. And I started to really struggle with basic things. And physically, my legs became very weak. And what's interesting about that is, and I'm obviously now connecting, we didn't just have grief. So we had cumulative grief, Mom and then Mervyn.
Yeah.
We also had a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Because we both are still not fully able to talk about what happened on that day.
Right.
And I think that's like, when it does come, it's going to be hard. I think I've completely blocked it. And so when the doctor put his hand on my shoulder and said, I couldn't stand. So it was a strange thing. So I think it was a lot of firsts for me, Jax. I had not, in all awareness, ever experienced depression before.
Yeah.
I was able to sympathize and support people who were experiencing it, but I haven't actually experienced it myself.
No.
And when I got the message, when he said that to me, I couldn't stand. So I kind of like went down on the ground. And then I had to stand up, and they took us into a waiting room. And, it was really, this was a doctor that was very clinical, not very communicative through the journey. I mean, he only communicated what he needed to, but he was an excellent doctor. Yeah. And I was quite surprised that he sat with me for nearly an hour. I think he just stopped everything that he was supposed to be doing. And that was quite interesting. And he sat there and he just talked. And I think he really struggled with what happened because, Mervyn had been in the hospital for so long.
Yeah.
And, he tried to offer comfort. And he did say something, and he said to me, if this makes any difference to you and your daughter, I've been a surgeon for many years. I've seen people in the ICU, and I've never seen a family as dedicated to a patient as the two of you were. I mean, you can see people don't come every day to the ICU. And he was very, comforting. But what I find interesting is on the days there are days now that I think, so the trajectory of how grief worked for me was in the early days. The minute my eyes opened is when the anxiety hit.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. And I hated that feeling. It was a feeling like the depression, anxiety. The anxiety was really bad. And unfortunately for Zander, she had no choice but to just get up and go to campus because, you can't have flexible hours if you're studying. And I obviously took some time off. I have an incredible, I think, if this should actually be spoken about in workplaces.
Yeah.
I would not have survived a lot of things if I did not have the incredible line manager that I did have, the
Yeah.
most incredible colleagues. And when I say colleagues that I used to work with and I no longer work with, and the people that I currently work with, I mean, I was getting messages from people that were even in admin positions, personal assistants to the executive. I was getting messages from them that, they would say, what can we do to help you through the next few months? Can we do any administration for you? And it was just incredible. There were people that just took over filling in forms because I couldn't fill in forms. I couldn't
Right.
do basic administration. A lot of people go back into the workplace. They're obliged to go back to the workplace because you only get a limited number of days. And I really feel very strongly about advocating for people that have to go immediately back into the workplace because how
It's
on earth,
bizarre, right?
how
It's
do you go
bizarre.
up to 5 days
I know.
and as what you just said earlier, Jax, you said the world is moving on.
It's
Everybody's
different.
moving on,
Yeah.
and I would agree that if I had to describe how I felt, especially in the early months, it's like
Yes.
everything was moving, and I was still standing in that moment, and it still happens to me till today. The image of the doctor walking down that hallway. I'm still stuck in that moment because
Yeah.
somehow my brain wants to rewrite that story.
Right.
And so,
Which is a
because I
trauma
keep,
response, right?
it's a trauma
That is a
response.
trauma response.
And him walking down means that if he doesn't reach me,
Yeah.
then I don't hear this news. Then and I, don't
Yeah.
hear this. And so
Mm.
I go back to that all the time. It's almost like you want to rewrite it, but you can't. So the early months, mental fog, physical exhaustion, really, really just not knowing who you are or what's happening around you. And, you know, uh, I don't even know what prompted me. Something just said to me, get up, get dressed, and go to the ladies' Bible study group. That I don't know
Right.
these people. I've never met any of them. And I had some interesting experiences along the way, but I landed
Well,
there.
I just want to interrupt there. I just want our listeners to know something about you. So Anne is not the most extroverted type until she knows you. So to go to a Bible study where you know no one, I can, in all honesty, just knowing you like I do, and knowing that you would never have done that, that for me shows the level of sadness, desperation, just world changing, like how this must have affected you to actually get up and go somewhere where you knew no one and actually walk in there and go through with it. And you did. Your capacity, right? Your capacity after such an incredibly heavy loss, your capacity changes. So I don't know. So I don't know about you, but I have experienced this with a few people, is that their capacity for small talk is they can't do it. They just can't do it. Their capacity to talk about the things they would normally talk about with you, can't do it. Like, and so almost that I'm almost encouraged when you say, you went into this church not knowing anyone, meeting 12 amazing women who just literally enfolded you, took you into this really safe space and kind of said, don't worry, we got you. We got you. And then you found this awesome book club where you found 11 other women who were just like, we got you. We got you. Not expecting anything from you other than what you have capacity to give. And I think what's really hard for people to understand is that when you are on a grief journey, your capacity to be who you were is null and void. It does not exist. Your capacity to cope with things that you had previously coped with does not exist. Your entire world is flipped on its head. And so your capacity to deal with people in general changes.
Completely.
And you know, you've said that you have a lot in our conversation, which was coffee that's morphed into lunch, which morphed into cake, which morphed into Zander's dinner. You said you one of the things you said to me is that your tolerance for people who are struggling has actually increased because you just know what that feels like, and you know what it's like to go through these things. And the I mean, the medical side is your brain is completely rewired by trauma. The neurological pathways are completely rewired. They're completely different to what they were. And one of the things that I noticed about you in your journey is the honesty and authenticity, which you've never been without. Let's just be honest. You've always been exactly who you are. Make no mistake. But the honesty and the authenticity with which you have walked this journey, you have not tried to say, oh, yes, I'm fine.
Mm.
I know one of the first few times I messaged you in those early days, you told me exactly what was going on with you. And the fact that you couldn't see straight, the fact that you didn't quite know who you were, on what end of the spectrum you were, like you were in that grief fog, and it was heavy. And I've really appreciated that, and especially today as we're covering this topic, I really want you to know that your experience is never for nothing. And I know I joked with you and I said, when are you writing your book? And you went, well, oh, well. And I have no doubt in my mind that you are already impacting lives, and that Mervyn jumps into my mind. He kind of shrugging his shoulders going, well, would you have expected anything less from my Anne? Would you have expected anything less? Do you know what I mean? And that for me, I get quite emotional thinking about it, because I know that this has been a relentless, difficult journey for you. And the space that you're in now, that you and Zander are in now, I know that your relationship has changed, and who you are to each other has actually changed. Do you want to just, as we begin to wrap up, do you want to just maybe talk a bit about that? For those of you who don't know and are tuning in with us, Zander is the most incredible daughter. She's the kind of person that you are immediately impacted by on meeting her. And I was very impacted on meeting her. I think she was only like 11 or 12. I can't even remember. She
Younger.
was so young.
Mm.
She is a fifth-year medical student. Am I correct? And knew very early on in her school journey that she wanted to be in medicine. I think Anne tried to dissuade her from it. I think there were many other things that Anne was thinking of, like, why don't you all try this? Why don't you try this? Like, why do you have to go and do medicine? But Zander is an incredible human being, and I say that without reserve. My family think the world of her, and we have always been impacted by Zander. And I want to say that she possesses an otherworldly kind of spirit, a spirit that is just, oh, I'm going to use the word incredible again. I'm just going to use it. But how have you changed? Like, how has that relationship changed? I know when we spoke, you said you've drawn closer to each other, but I know as a mom, there's a lot that you've want for her and a lot that you are worried about. But for her and you, how is that relationship?
So in the beginning, it was just two people devastated and trying to make sense of our world. And it was just me lying on the couch, trying to survive
Mm.
the impact of what was happening. And she, of course, got up every day and had to go to campus.
Mm.
And physically, she started manifesting grief.
Yeah.
It was quite a tough journey. And as I said to you, I didn't know I was trying to fix her pain, and
Right.
it's the wrong thing to do. And if there are moms in my situation listening to this, I
Mm.
think let's not fix it. Let's
Mm.
just. I think what she
Oh,
wanted from me
powerful.
was just listen to me.
Mm.
And the added difficulty was that a more senior medical student, when I say senior because in the last 3 years they do clinical work. Their work is
Mm.
not more in the hospitals. And I think where it was very difficult in the early days is knowing that she was going to be in a hospital which was reminiscent of her father's
Mm.
journey.
Yeah.
And I remember the one time she came home from a late night at the hospital and she was just about to eat, and then she spoke about the first time she actually spoke. She didn't speak about her grief for a long time.
Mm.
She actually couldn't.
Mm.
She had a lot of anger about a lot of things as well. Some of
Mm.
the things she saw me go through, um, which made her even more protective of me. So what I have noticed
Yeah.
is that, I mean, as you know, Zander's always been, from the time she came into this world, she's always been this mature person, you know.
Yep.
So her EQ, she's got very high EQ. Her emotional intelligence is really good. She's a very compassionate, caring person.
Mm.
She's very mature about situations. But I think what I'm seeing is she's almost wanting to be my protector.
Yeah.
And I've tried to navigate that in a way to say, and it's one of the reasons I had to fight through the fog of my grief, Jax, is because,
Yeah.
as a mother, when you're grieving and you have a child or children that also grieving, it hits you that if I'm going to be on this couch broken, what happens to my kid? And so you
Mm.
you kind of have to really, you have to be intentional about your healing journey. I mean, it's never going
Yeah.
to be healed, but your healing journey, I think.
Mm.
And so I had to start being more conscious of the fact that she is the child, not the adult, even though
Wow.
she presents. But what I have noticed, I mean, we've always been incredibly close. We've always
Yes.
been, I know I've always done all the fun things with her, interestingly enough, even though most people see Mervyn as, I mean, she did a lot of with her dad, but I would
Yes.
do all the easy stuff really. Whereas Mervyn was really the one dealing with most of the practical things. And
Mm.
but Xander and I always spent a lot of time together. We've always been able to have conversations about anything, on a deep
Mm.
level.
Mm.
But losing Mervyn, I've seen her jump into more of a, um, I don't know how to describe it, but she wants to protect me from the world. She wants to protect me
Right.
from a lot of things. And it's it's
Mm.
it's very strange for me, and because I say to her, I'm a capable person, you don't have to worry, but I think it's part of her grief, because
Mm.
I was taking a walk to the shop and she said to me, um, what shoe are you wearing? And I thought, well, she was on campus and she sent me a mail. I just said to her, I'm going to take a walk to Cavendish and, get some. And she said, what shoe are you wearing? And I said, why? She said, oh, please don't wear a shoe that you're going to end up tripping and falling. Please make sure you wear tacky or whatever. It's like, this is so strange. And then she said, don't take your phone out of your bag when you're walking on the road. And so and then I realized that my child was having anxiety because I am the only parent left in her
Yep.
life. And
Yep.
she had lost her she lost, Mervyn's mom was also a very integral part of her life. And she had passed on um, a month or so before her trial exams and in 2020. And then obviously she'd lost my mom and there were other family members as well. But, her core family was my mom, Mervyn, her and I. And so I think the realization that I was the only person left in her world, in her core world. And don't get me wrong, she is the most loved person in my entire family. My cousins in Johannesburg, there's 2 or 3 of Mervyn's cousins on his maternal side, and the entire Isaac side. My family, my sister, my uncles, she's very, very loved. They're so involved, and Mervyn's brother and his wife, and the larger, if most of the family love Zander. They and so she had. I must say, I've realized that Zander has the most incredibly supportive friend circle. I've never seen young people do what I witnessed in the months after Mervyn passed. Absolutely. There was a young man I didn't even know and 2 young ladies. They pitched up within hours of everything happening. And for the days before we got to Durban, they would just pitch up. They were in their early 20s in her class, and her best friend from primary school, Olivia, and quite a few of her other friends. They just took over. They were just bringing pre-packed meals. They would at my door would open and they'd be standing there with coffee. And they've supported her emotionally and in every possible way, through her journey. So she's had a friend group that, wow, it's just wow, I can say. I just am completely blindsided. And so she had a lot of support there. So from a family perspective, she's very loved. Friends, very loved. Mervyn's, there's people on his side. There's just a lot of people that love her. But I think it's become glaringly obvious in her mind that it's just me now.
Yeah.
And that has hit her really hard. And I think there is a level of fear that she doesn't talk about. There's a level of anxiety that she doesn't talk about. But it's a reality when you've got one parent left and you think she's become a little hyper alert about my health, my choices that I make. She's very protective. Like if there's anything that upsets me, I can see she takes it, and she's I think she's always been an incredibly strong person, but she's always been very accommodating to people. What I have seen in her is she's got a zero tolerance now to nonsense. Like if you've got nothing, if you've got nothing valuable, if you've got nothing kind, if you've got nothing that's going to grow us, done. She's very focused on what she needs to do for her professional space, her family life, her personal. She's become extremely selective about what she would give her energy to and what she's not.
Right, because her
And
capacity has changed.
I really like that. And I think that's helped me grow as well, because I realized that as strong as my personality has been always, I think I've been a bit too accommodating in some respects. And I think I've learned from her. You know what? Let's just focus on the important things, the people that are in your life, the support that you do have, but also to get on with what you need to do. And as you said, I think what you said, Jax, is something I've been saying to other people as well, is that the one thing that got Zander and I into a more of a restorative process of the healing is what you said earlier, is that when we were experiencing the horrible parts of grief, when we're experiencing the secondary losses of people in our lives,
Mhm.
I think what got me off that couch and I started to like, I will mourn Mervyn in ways that I cannot even explain, and I think Zander will as well. But you really have been so insightful in your words. It's so amazing. Is that you said Mervyn would expect nothing less of his two girls.
Mm.
And he knew that, and he was very proud always of the fact
Yeah.
that both Zander and I were high functioning people, that we could fight through, a lot. And his voice has been one of the strongest voices in my head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have allowed as much as I cry about him in the way that I cry, which is more internal than, I've actually, both of us have we're also become a little more real with each other.
Yeah.
She's actually become a lot more vocal about, in as much as she's protective and all of that, I've noticed that she will say to me, Mom, I can't actually do that right now. I've got 2 hours to finish studying for this, and then I've got this here. And she's starting to manage even her social life in a way that is more about intentional self-care. So she is saying to me, no, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna do that later. Or no, I don't have capacity for that. And I'm actually respecting that, and I like that. And I think she's very grounded in her faith. So it's helped me a lot. And, in the early days when I said to her, how are you doing this? And she said, my faith. And I put on my headphones and I listened to my uh, praise and worship, and I read my Bible, and I just keep going back to that point. And I was struggling because I had this existential crisis, as one does when you are grieving. And
Yes.
and she said to me, you need to become more intentional about your prayer life, because you only go to God when you're in a crisis. And I was like, and that hit me hard. And so, I joined the Bible study. With this leading the widows support group is also teaching me things, in as much as I'm sort of facilitating. It's all the women in this group are also teaching me, because some women have been in this grief journey for 15 years and they've joined the widows support group. And that's been interesting, because I see the woman who's on the 15-year journey, and she's incredible, and she's living a productive life. But she still saw fit to join this group because she still needed to talk about it. So
Yeah.
15 years down the line, she still needed to talk about it. And that was, and so two of them speak in each session, and it's been, wow, it's just been incredible. So Zander and I think we are in a place where we've become very hyper aware that we have to do what we need to do to make Mervyn proud of who we are. But we also want to be real about our grief. And I just want to say something that you said earlier, Jax, not related to Zander, but you said that you've enjoyed the fact that I've been authentic and about this grief. And I think that's one of the things for me is for the first time in my life, Anne needed other people to take care of her.
Yeah.
Where I just needed other people to take care of me for once, because I've always been taking care of a lot of people, a lot of things. And I felt in those moments in the first 6 to 8 months and I wasn't ashamed of it. I wasn't ashamed that I was broken, crippled by grief, actually. For the first time, I could stand in front of 1 million people and say, losing Mervyn broke me in ways that I didn't anticipate. I felt crippled by that one traumatic moment.
Yeah.
But I also had to make a decision, and I think both Zander and I have bonded on that, is that we want to make Mervyn proud in that you can also, I think I said this to you before, that we are now 22 months down the line, and we've healed from things that happened in the early days that shouldn't have happened, that
Yeah.
added to our grief, for example.
Yeah.
We've released, that. And my advice to people, because when you're grieving, and especially if you've lost a spouse, you're going to experience secondary losses, is to just not have, is to let go of the expectations. I think both
Yes.
Zander and I have bonded over, we've let go of the expectations of others.
Yeah.
And the
100%.
second thing that happened in this 22 months is once we both let go of the expectations of other people and focusing on why people behave in a certain way when you're grieving. We had to let that go because that's not the focus of the healing.
No.
That's not the focus of honoring the person that you lost. And the second thing is we both needed to acknowledge our worth and who we are.
Yes.
We needed to
That's
understand who we
powerful.
are.
Yeah.
And being cognizant of the amazing, wonderful, loving, kind friends and family we do have.
Yeah.
And once you relinquish the expectations of people that you thought would be part of your grief journey, but you also got to come to a place of forgiveness. And the forgiveness is not for them.
No.
The forgiveness is for you.
Yeah.
And once you say and forgiveness does not mean reinstating or reestablishing
No.
relationships with people who have
Definitely
hurt
not.
you. It's about forgiving and saying, I let this go now because I have Zander. Okay, so you spoke about Zander is teaching me a lot in this. And then, a couple of times, sometimes I bring up a topic and she says to me, she'll be at her desk and she says, Mom, I have more important things to do in my life than worry about things that don't matter. And it's just been phenomenal. And I was like, you know what? She's right. So it's been quite a journey. And I feel like cognitively, I'm so much better down the line, letting go of expectations and focusing on healing, focusing and understanding how you're going to navigate that healing from the grief. Because grief is not going away. You have to accept that I think the hard part for both Zander and I is accepting that grief becomes a part of who you are in your future. You can't run from it. And the pain is hard, the bad parts are hard, but there's so much that's good. As you say, I told you before, I've become softer. I've become more still. I'm not always racing to the next project or whatever it is. I'm a lot more still. I've become more compassionate, actually, to people who may be struggling with things that we sometimes don't realize. So if somebody is not talking fast enough in a meeting, I no longer think, can this person speak any faster? I actually I realize, having gone through grief, I realize they may be struggling with something that makes grace. So I've become a lot more self-reflective about who I want to be in this new journey. And the things that I think that matter in this life, because grief changes you, Jax, in the way that you see the world.
For
I
sure.
look at people chasing a lot of things and I think, and then what? Now, don't get me wrong. It is absolutely essential that whilst we are here on this earth, to live productive lives, to have goals, and to reach our goals, but not to have this focus on what the world tells you is productive. What the world tells you is meaningful, or what the world tells you, what social media tells you, what to buy, where to live, how to live. It's about using your grief and using grief to transform you, to become, to leave a legacy of that, not just that you matter, that other people matter. Because there's so many people you overlook when you're busy and you're chasing, I'm not sure, humans, we're always chasing something. I've actually slowed my steps I really, really, there isn't a day that I don't get up and I think, I wish I could turn back time and that it didn't happen. I mean, I go through some very difficult, don't get me wrong, I'm
It's
cognitively
dark
really
days.
doing
Yeah.
much better. So is Zander. But I think that I had to make a choice as to what do I do with this grief? Because it's here to stay.
Yeah.
What do I do with it? So I read and read. I mean, oh my gosh, in the early days, I might probably slept 2, 3 in the morning, just reading everything on grief, reading on whatever. And I did go to therapy for a little bit, and then it didn't work for me. And so I started treating myself with cognitive behavioral therapy methods and, finding ways to renew my mind. But I think Zander and I together, we are quite clear on focusing on ourselves and where we are going as we're just two of us left as a family, although we have, other family. My nephew is very close to us. He's here in Cape Town, and we have an incredible family. But when I say family, you know what I mean, the core
The
family,
unit.
which is just the two
Yes.
of us, and to focus on how to use grief in a positively transformative way. And I
Yeah.
do think that you can take your pain and use it to help other people. Because when I started helping other people on this grief journey with the widow's social support, I felt like it was helping me as well. It was taking me through the different steps of evolving in it. And I think Mervyn's voice has been, I think, something that I personally have used as a guide for Zander and I. And I always think of him saying to me, "Take care of Zander." So I give her an agency. She's a very independent young woman. But we have a lot of moments together that's beautiful. We talk a lot about the grief. We talk a lot about what we want to do with our lives and how. And I think the most important thing is that we both talk a lot about how we want to honor who Mervyn was. And rather than wasting our energy and our time on people that behave weirdly or unkindly or whatever it is, all the negative stuff out, just to let that go and to honor Mervyn, because Mervyn deserves to be honored with
Indeed.
grace and with dignity.
Yeah.
And when I was a very young girl, we were newly married. And I said to you, he was a sportsman, and I wasn't really, into that. But he would take me to the soccer ground, and he would teach me skills, ball skills, and kick a rugby ball, and how to do certain things. But I would often get out of breath, and I don't want to do this. And so we were also like, he wanted to. This was, we were very young. We gave up running very quickly, but in the early days, the very early days, he said, this is remarkable. I know Mervyn for 35 years. I knew him for 35 years. And he said something to me when I was a 19 or 20-year-old. That interestingly, his image pops into my mind quite often with certain words and things that he used to say to me. And he said to me, we were running maybe we were meant to run together a few kilometers. And I said to him, I can't do this. I'm not a runner. And he said, I always remember this. He said, look at me. You only have to focus on the next lamppost in front of you. So forget about where we are going and how far it is. And don't think about that. I want you to just think about running from here where we are standing to the next lamppost. And when you get to the next lamppost, you just think about getting to the next one. And before you know it, you'd be done with the race.
Yeah.
And that has become something that I'm implementing in my life, is I just got to make it through today. What is it that I need to accomplish? And then the next day, and the next day, and then each day becomes a month, and the next month. And I guess that's how we are surviving this journey. But I want people who are grieving to also know I'm not making it idealistic. It's not.
No.
It's really raw. It is. You will have moments in the quiet, when you're alone, in the quiet of the night, where that pain and the loss of a person you love is just, it's just overwhelming.
Mm.
When I look at Zander, it's really hard. It's really hard. I look at her busy,
Mm.
busy, leaving in the mornings, coming, and I see her even in her social circles. And there's a sadness in me that she doesn't have her father, that he's not there. But a friend of
Mm.
ours, when we had dinner with them, he said to Zander, Zander, I just want to give you these words of encouragement. Some of us have fathers for 40 years or 50
Mm.
years, and it's not a quality uh,
Mm.
relationship. From what I observed, you had your father for 22 years, but it was the most amazing 22 years.
Yeah.
And you need to take that into your life. And I guess that's what she and I are basically doing, is to think about the better things, the best things. Because if we had to focus on the illness and the
Oh,
hard bits,
so
I don't
heavy.
think we are going to come out of this. I mean, I still struggle. I struggle a lot. And I do think as we approach his second year anniversary on the 26th of August, I think I do feel anticipatory trauma.
Yeah.
And I did read something interesting that even if you are doing well,
Mm.
your body remembers the
Yep.
date, time, and you know,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, I mean, it's not a one size fits all either. Each
Mm.
person's journey is completely different, and even though I'm here having this conversation with you, um, and it seems like I've been through this years ago, and it's only 22 months. That's just because that's my personality. I am able to have this conversation. But trust
Mm.
me, there are many days when I'm in my pajamas and I just want to watch Netflix for hours and hours just to get through
Mm.
the day,
That's
to
valid.
have this
Yeah.
escapism, essentially
Yeah.
that's what it is. So I think it has changed us both. Um, and I think it's going to continue to change us in the
Mm.
decisions we make and how
Mm.
we see the world, how we see
Yep.
people. But
Yeah.
we have become, I think the both of us have become very protective of our energy, of who we are.
Yeah.
There's no capacity anymore to like to to just accommodate things that we can't. We
Mm.
both are on the same page that we are unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Um, But as you know, Jax, I would move mountains for my friends, for my family,
Yep.
and I will always do that. But I'm also
Mm.
learning to say, you know what? For the next 2 days, I just want to do nothing. I
Yeah.
just don't want to. But I think with my personality, I do like uh, doing activities with friends and family. It
Mm.
does help me. It does help me um, to shift my focus.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's just about honoring Mervyn, in the way that the cooking part of it, I must say, has been um, an interesting one because it changed my life, and to other people it may seem silly, but to
No.
me it was very hard
Mm.
to realize that something you took for granted your whole adult life, um, and I had to go into the kitchen and think about what would I do now? How would I make food and cook? And so that was hard. That was hard. And it
Mm.
still is. Thankfully, Xander's pretty, uh, you know, savvy in the kitchen, but time obviously is a factor. But
Mm.
I, my eating has changed. I eat very basic things, and Mervyn prepared a feast every day. So that's
Mm.
change as well. And I think people must never minimize things that may seem to be inconsequential or oh,
Yeah.
what a small thing, But it was a big
Yeah.
thing. It was a big part of my life that he would cook and he would do, all these things. And so coming to that, I don't think, I'll be quite honest with you. I don't think I'm in a place of acceptance
No.
that he is gone, which I think is a very critical stage of grief, to heal completely. But again, I'm using the wrong word. You don't heal completely. You just
No.
learn how to live with it better. So I don't know where my next steps are. I don't know where the next part of my journey is with this grief. I
Mm.
do feel that I am dreading that 2-year mark, because then the
Mm.
reality is 2 years. How did
I
we
know. How did we
live?
get here?
How did we function? And so what I have found, though, an interesting thing about grief, and I'm sure other people experience this, is the more functional I've become and
Mm.
the more cognitively better I've become
Mm.
a lot more emotional about it.
Yeah.
I've become a lot more emotional. I'm feeling sadder. I'm feeling more sad than when I was in the fog.
Mm.
It's strange.
Mm.
When you're in the fog, you're not really you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling depression, you're feeling that cloud of heaviness.
Mm.
But where you feel sad, incredibly sad, I think I'm only starting to feel this daily sadness
Yeah.
that that's very difficult to navigate.
Mm.
Um, and you can't fill your life with activities just to run from grief. And I
No.
think that's where I need to actually be very careful, that I need to stop um, filling my life with lots of things, um,
Mm.
because you got to sit with your grief.
Yep.
Even if it's tearing you apart, you have to acknowledge that this has happened to you. You
Mm.
didn't want it to happen. You wish that it didn't happen. You wish it away every day. But the reality of grief is you got to sit with that grief.
Mm.
It's not going. It just,
Mm.
because it knocks on the door at the most unexpected times, in a
It
supermarket
does.
or in
It
an
really
event.
does.
Yeah. And
Mm.
supermarkets, strangely enough, are a weak point for me, because Mervyn did all the shopping, and I go into a supermarket and I stop in the middle of the aisle and I'm just staring. I'm just staring because his
Mm.
presence in a
It
supermarket is
it was
so
here.
huge.
Mm.
And he was a larger than life character in so many ways. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, there's so much more, Jax. I think, maybe a part 2 in a few
I
months
think
to see where
so.
I'm at. Um,
Mm.
and I am writing the book. I am
I
writing a
know.
book.
Thank
Um,
goodness.
I think, um, I think the book for me fulfills two things. I think
Mm.
it would be part of my healing.
Mhm.
It's cathartic in the writing, and it's going to be very raw and authentic. And I mean, it's going to talk
Mm.
about everything that we experienced.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's also, if it helps a person somewhere one day, to just
Exactly.
read it. Because when I joined the ladies group, there was a lady in that group that in one of the sessions she brought me a little. It was a thin book. I forget the name of the author, and it was a book that really helped me take that first step back to realize
Mm.
grief and loss is not unique to the person experiencing. It's happening all over the world,
Mm.
and sometimes in quite a catastrophic way to others. And
Mm.
this book
Mm.
was about a man who in one day, lost his wife, his mom-in-law, and 2 of his children.
Wow.
And that pulled me back a lot. But the other thing I want to say is, no person's grief is greater or smaller than the other person. Your
No.
grief is your grief. But
Yep.
what I'm saying is, reading books about grief, it helps me. It helps me to a certain extent. So I do want to write this book. I don't know how long it's going to take me. but I do want to
Mm.
write. I felt very led to write a book about all our experiences, and
Mm.
yeah, I will see where it goes.
Well, I certainly look forward to that, because I know that the person who you are uh, would naturally want to give back, would naturally want to help others navigate the things that you have had to navigate in the last 22 months. It's a natural part of your being. And I think that's why you became a litigator, is because you wanted to help. You wanted to do something that would have an impact. I also, as we close, I want to thank you, Anne, again, for your authenticity, for your honesty. I feel so privileged to know. I mean, I've said this a number of times. You've heard me say it. I feel so privileged to know you, and to actually share space with you is one of the deepest joys of my life. To witness the relationship that you and Mervyn had, the relationship between you, Merv, and Zander, and now the relationship that you and Zander have in navigating this very deep and heavy loss. And I just want to take a moment to dedicate this podcast and this podcast series to Mervyn Isaac and the legacy that he has left behind. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, because he truly touched so many lives just by being who he was and living life to the full and grabbing it with both hands. I mean, I did laugh when you said he was so naughty sometimes, because I so see that. And
Yeah.
I want his legacy and his name to be known and synonymous with this huge capacity to live life with full throttle and with such velocity and character and love. He loved deeply, and it was a privilege to see and witness the love that he has for you and Zander. And so I dedicate this podcast and this podcast series to him, and here's hoping there will be a part 2, and I look forward to many conversations with you around this topic and many more. If anyone knows, and you will know that the wisdom that this lady holds is beyond measure. So I thank you for your time, my friend, and I thank you for giving of yourself, and I thank you for your honesty in this journey that you are walking. And we know that there are days that are not great, that there are dark days, and we think of you every day, and we will continue to think of you every day. And I'm just so proud and so privileged to just share space with you. It feels like such a privilege to hold space with you and to know you and to watch you and bear witness to this journey. So thank you very much, and I wish you well, and please come back and talk to us again. And as this book continues to be written, we'd love some updates. And if any of you listening out there would love to ask questions or send in requests for Anne at any time to maybe come back on and share a bit more about a certain part of grief, please feel free to send us those suggestions. We would love to have you back, Anne. And I know that there are some people who would love to hear more about certain parts of a grief journey that they might be walking and how you would navigate that. So thank you. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Jax, firstly, let me thank you for actually giving me this opportunity to speak about Mervyn and about this journey. And thank you and for the love, the absolute love, and the words that you spoke about Mervyn. It meant a lot to me right in this session with you, because you described him so perfectly. Mm-hmm. And I'm so emotional, and I know Zander's going to be so emotional that you're actually dedicating the grief series in his honor. And it's something that I really want, like I say all the time, is I wish more people would talk about him.
Yeah.
because he deserves to be talked about. And I guess the book obviously dedicated to him. But thank you so much. Zander's going to be so happy to hear that. All the kind words, and I feel a little overwhelmed but thank you. I think these podcasts are so incredible.